Hello ladies, welcome to June program. I can't believe I'm saying that. So these are the videos that are going to break down every workout by exercise, and then every exercise I'm going to show you the form, I'm going to show you how to make it harder or easier, and I'm going to show you any substitutions or modifications that I can think of for that exercise in case you have an injury or you're just very new or you're not that strong yet. Whatever reasoning it is, I'm going to show you how to do everything in these videos. So unfortunately, the first one's always the longest. I'm using my laptop. I don't have the printout in front of me, but we are on Monday, May 30th. So even though we're in June, we are starting on Monday, May 30th, and we're starting with our lower body workout. So how I'm going to show these to you is I'm going to read what it says. I'm going to briefly just do a quick demonstration of each of the exercises. So if you have been with me before or you recognize the name but you don't remember how to do it, you can see it and just move on. If you don't know what it is and you're totally new, you're just gonna keep watching, and then that's where I'm gonna go into a lot of detail in each exercise, okay? And I'm also gonna explain a little bit about the workouts. So for example, Monday we have two parts. We know we have two parts because there's a star and underline under 4, 5, or 6 rounds, and there's a star and underline under pulsing squat. So that means that those are two separate parts. If you look at Tuesday, there's two parts. Wednesday is 1, Thursday is 1, and Friday is 2, okay? So I'm just gonna quickly show, and then I will talk more about it. So those of you that know what you're doing can just carry on. We have swings, hamstring curls, elevated bridges, forward jumps with 4 steps back, and pulsing squat of choice. So our swings, or you can hold just one, or you could use a kettlebell. Our hamstring curls. It's always hard to balance stuff on my carpet, and this is a really tiny weight, so I hope it'll stay between my sneakers. Okay, good enough. So you just curl the weight. We've got elevated bridges. So I'm gonna try to drag my chair into the screen. Ideally, you would put your chair up against a wall so it doesn't slide. We've got our forward jump, 4 steps back. So that's gonna be a big jump forward, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And pulsing squat of choice could be narrow pulsing, regular squat pulsing, or sumo pulse. Okay, so a little bit more about the workout structure. So where you see 4, 5, or 6 rounds, that means you're going to choose how many rounds you want to do. So that is part of how you make it easier or harder for your fitness level. So if you're somebody who is always really active and you have good strength, you're going to want to do more. If you're just beginning, you're going to want to do less. So that's your choice, how many rounds you're doing. And then the number in front of the exercise is the number of reps. So that means how many times you're doing the exercise within that round or set. So we're all doing 12, 12, and 12, or 12, 12, 12, and 12, and then you're picking to repeat it 4, 5, or 6 times, okay? And then if you look at the second part, that's gonna be on a timer. So I will have already posted a video on how to use the timer app. There's also a page on your workout schedule with your timers page. So this one we're using Tabata timer, and then we're altering it to the amount of seconds we want. So you're gonna pick between 20 and 30 seconds on, so that could literally be 22, 25, and then we're all resting for 30 seconds, and we're doing it for 4 rounds, okay? So if you have any questions on the structures of the workouts, you can always message me. So for the exercises, we have swings first. So this is ideally done with a kettlebell, but a lot of people don't have them, so I always show it with dumbbells. So unfortunately, the weights I typically show my demos with, I don't have one of the sets. It's upstairs and I forgot to bring it down. So these are fairly light for me, but I'm gonna show you anyway. So your options for your swings are to hold 2 dumbbells like this, or 1 dumbbell by the top the long way, okay? So the thing that you have to be careful about if you wanna hold just one is a lot of it dictates, or your hand size dictates the weight you can use, not necessarily how strong you are. Because if your hand can't properly grip around the top of the weight, it's gonna fly out of your hand. So if you're looking to go a little bit heavier, I suggest using 2 dumbbells. So what that's gonna look like is this. I'm just gonna show it to you first. So this is what your swing looks like, and then I'm gonna break it down. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of our weights. So the first thing to know about your swing is that it is a hinge motion and not a squat. And this is what I mean by that. When you swing, your butt and your legs are doing this, which is your hinge. They are not doing this, which is your squat, okay? So to do your hinge, you're going to push your hips and your butt backward to the wall behind you, okay? So everything is gonna go back, it's not gonna go down. So your hips and your butt are gonna go back, you're gonna have a slight bend in your knee, and when you do that motion, your back naturally folds forward, so that's where your hinge comes in. So as your back folds, you wanna make sure that it's staying straight and that you're not drooping down like this and creating a hunch in your back. You always wanna be straight. So by pulling your shoulders back a little bit, you can kind of keep that straight back. So your butt pushes to the wall, your hips push to the wall, your back folds down. You're gonna feel your hamstrings pull, and then you're gonna stand up. Push back to the wall, let your back fold down nice and straight. Feel that pull right here, stand up, okay? So faster with your swing motion, it's gonna look like this. And you're gonna kind of squeeze, you're gonna kind of thrust forward when you're doing these, okay? But notice my back is staying straight. I'm not hunching and rounding, and I'm not squatting down, okay? So butt to the wall, back folds down nice and straight, and you kind of thrust forward. So obviously we all noticed I talked about the weights. So what your arms and your weights are doing, you're gonna hold, say we do 2, like this, or you're gonna do 1 the long way, like this, okay? I'll show you from the front. And I like to get a nice wide stance, and I always point my toes slightly out. So when I do the swing and I include my arms, my dumbbells are gonna go between my legs, and they're up fairly high, and then when I thrust forward, they're gonna come up in front of me, okay? So it's not really so much that you are lifting your arms really high or doing anything specific with your arms. They're more so holding the weight. That's really all they're doing. They're holding the weight. When you thrust up, they should come up about, level. That's usually where mine go, okay? So it's not that you're really trying to lift them specifically. It's not that your arms are really doing a lot of swinging. So when I do mine, my shoulders just kind of rotate. So I bring it down, I bring it up. So my arms are moving in this type of motion, okay? But it's very controlled. So notice I'm not just flailing them around or doing whatever. They're nice and controlled, keeping my back straight. So that's usually where people mess it up, is when they have a weight, especially if it's a heavier weight, because you are holding it like this. People tend to let their shoulders drop down when they come in. So see how rounded my back is? When you come in, you still have to be straight backed. So thinking about pushing that butt and hips backward typically will help. And like I said, if you're not too concentrated on the arm portion, you think more about the leg and butt portion, it'll usually help keep yourself fairly straight. So if you have to do this a few times with no weight, and maybe watch yourself in the mirror or film yourself, and make sure that you just have this motion down, then you can always add weight, okay? And you don't have to go heavy or anything like that, but it's really important because this is one of the exercises a lot of people get hurt on, and what they hurt is they hurt their back, because when they round like this, it pulls on the lower back. So when you add weight to that, it's only gonna pull it more, okay? So if that one is confusing to you, you can always message me. Now we have hamstring curls. So this one is kind of imitating the machine that you would do at the gym, where you would lay on your stomach and curl your legs up, okay? So with this one, you can use a heavier dumbbell, but again, you're holding it with your feet, so it kind of rests like in the little nook where your arches are, so it still has to be something that you can actually hold properly in your shoes, okay? So you'll see what I mean when you try it. So like I said, this one is kind of a small weight. I don't normally use this little of a weight, but I was able to grab it, so it's fine. And it does take a little while to find the position to be able to grab it. So you're gonna grab it, it's gonna kind of fit in that space I was just talking about. In your shoes, my arms are either out or they're kind of like this, and I'm just gonna curl up, slow, lower. Curl up, slow, lower. And the heavier weight that you use, the bigger the dumbbell is gonna be. So with this one, I can go pretty low because it's a smaller dumbbell. When I'm using a bigger one, my legs might stop there because the dumbbell's gonna hit the ground first, okay? So this is all you're really doing, is just try to do it as controlled as you can. And with this one, depending on the weight that you're using, you might actually wanna do more reps. So if you just don't have a large variety of dumbbells, or you don't have any heavy, and you go to do this and it feels really light for you, you can go ahead and do more. So instead of doing 12, you could do 16 or 18 if you're using a really light weight. And that goes for anything in this program. If you feel like you don't really have the proper weights yet, and you're like, oh, this is just all like so easy, even if I do 6 rounds, that means you need to do a higher amount of reps. All right, elevated bridges. So a lot of you have probably done bridges before because we typically do them on the ground. I've done them in a couple of different sports before. This one is elevated. So what that means is your feet are coming off the ground. Your feet are elevated off the ground. So the easiest way to do this is with a chair or a couch. Again, I would recommend making sure that it's something really sturdy because your body weight is capable of moving it. I have my camera set up really good right now. I don't want to touch it. So my chair is just floating in space, but I'm hoping it will not pop out from under my feet. So I'm on my back, my head is on the ground, and I usually put the middle of my feet on the edge, okay? So I don't do this, I put in the middle. It's already moving. Okay, so all you're gonna do with this is you're going to squeeze your butt and lift your hips up to the ceiling. Slow, lower. Up and squeeze, slow, lower. Up and squeeze, slow, lower. So that one is very simple. You just want to make sure that you're lifting your hips as high as you can, squeezing your butt as tight as you can, and you may notice that you might feel some lower back soreness, maybe like the next day or something along those lines. You might be like, why does my back hurt? Because this actually works your whole core, and your whole core is the front and back of your whole trunk area, okay? So same thing with like planks, other exercises, even the swings, they work your whole core, which is the whole thing. So if you are noticing your back is sore, that's probably why, because you are using your back muscles when you pull your hips up off the ground like that, okay? And lastly, we have the forward jump with the 4 steps back. So what that looks like, and I'm gonna try to finish this one quickly because I just noticed I charged my phone and I didn't even think to look at my laptop, and of course it's got like red battery. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a big jump forward, stay just how you land with bent knees, and you're gonna step back 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of trying to get back to where you started, okay? Big jump forward, stay low, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So the most important part about this is trying to do a big jump, and on your steps back, you're staying low. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So when I say big jump, I mean big jump. Take your arms, when you squat down, bring them behind you, use them to jump forward, okay? And then stay low. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big jump, bend your knees. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so again, big jump. I am really jumping. If you do those and you do them to like your fullest potential, you're gonna be so tired. So as you can tell, I'm like out of breath already. So really jump, don't cheat yourself. If you cannot jump, one of your options is you can just do the squat, walking back and forth. Or you could do it this way. You could do squat, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, forward, squat, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, backward, okay? Squat, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, forward, squat, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, backward. And you can do that 12 times, up 1, back 2, up 3, back 4. Or if that's easy for you, but you just have knee problems and you can't do the jump, you can always do that more as well, okay? And lastly, we have our pulsing squat of choice. So our pulsing squat is a squat with little mini bounces. So we squat and bounce, bounce, bounce. We never fully stand up. We stay down and we bounce. So you can pick if you want to do narrow, regular, sumo style, or you can alternate. So I like to alternate if my legs are particularly sore or burning. I like to alternate because each option hits a different part of the leg. So if you do narrow pulsing, that means your feet are very close together, not touching, but very close together. And when you go down, you're gonna hit a lot of the front of your leg, which is your quad. If you choose your regular stance squat, actually, let me say that again. When you do your narrow, it's gonna hit not only your quad, but it's gonna get the sides as well. When you hit your regular squat, it's gonna get the quad, but it actually gets a lot of the hamstring too. When you hit your sumo squat, which is wide with your feet out turned, you're hitting mostly the inner and a little bit of the top of the thigh, okay? So maybe you wanna work on your inner thigh, you might wanna pick sumo. So either way, narrow pulsing would look like this. So this one's kind of tricky because when your legs are that close together and you squat down, your body really leans forward. And typically in a squat, you don't want to lean forward. So you wanna focus on just keeping your back straight, okay? Pulse, 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 pulse in your narrow. Your regular squat, drop down, bounce. So your back should be a little bit straighter than if you were doing the narrow. And then if you do the sumo, which is the wide stance and the toes turned outward, you're gonna be here. Your back should be the straightest, okay? So with all of those, you want to just make sure that you're staying in that sunken position while you bounce. If it's getting too tough for you, I always just stand up, I shake it off, and then I drop back down and keep going, okay? So if you are somebody who needs the assistance of a chair, you can't do a full sit and bounce because obviously once you sit down, you take the resistance off of your legs. But if you're somebody who would like to use a chair because you're unsure of your depth, so if you are brand new to squatting and exercising and you aren't aware of where your body is in space, what I mean by that is when I do a squat, I do it like this. So clearly you can see how low I just went, right? If I'm new and I'm not sure, I might go here and I might squat like this. That is not low enough. So if you use an aid like a chair, it's gonna help you because you're gonna know I have to drop down, oh, I'm too far away. I have to drop down until my butt hits the chair and then I can come up. So we call that tap and go. So sometimes people need a chair, not because they have an injury, but because they just are not sure of where they are in space. So if that's you, you can still pulse while using the chair. So that way you know you're low enough because you could be doing this. That's just not low enough. So if you're not sure, you can always use your chair to aid you. And I'm gonna say this now, but I will still point it out in every workout. Your chair can be used for really any squat or lunging assistance. So squats, it would be more so your butt. Lunging, it would be more so holding on to like the back of the chair or the arm of the chair. And then anytime we do something with like jumping and that you can't do, you can always just try to come up with a modification on your chair. So I don't want to make it boring and just say, okay, just hit a regular bodyweight squat every time you can't do something. So there is a video in my resources area on the page, on the top, it's pinned or featured, whatever you want to call it. And it does say, I think, bad knees and no jumping subs, something along those lines. So I give you a bigger variety of all the options that you have if you're somebody who's gonna have to do a lot of subbing for leg day. So I would suggest watch that video, pick out a couple ones, write them down, or maybe even go through your schedule ahead of time and see, I can't do this one, can't do this one, and just write in a replacement so that when you're getting ready to do it, you already know what you're gonna do in its place instead of saying, oh, I can't do it, what am I gonna do now? And then get frustrated, okay? So again, if you need a lot of help on leg day because you need substitutions, look at the Bad Knee No Jumping Subs video, I forget what it's called, and that will help you pick a lot of other options so that you can do your leg day and still get just as good of a workout. Okay, so that's your first day.